You ready? Welcome to the 2021 Outer Banks Beach Club Association Homeowners Annual Meeting. Our first order of business on the agenda is, excuse me, the motion to dispense with calling of the roll. I need a motion to dispense with calling of the roll, please. Is there someone who would make that motion? Nate, please give your name out loud so she can hear. A second on that, please. Okay, Ms. Renault. Okay. Okay, is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of dispensing with the calling of the roll, say aye. Aye. Okay, thank you. We got that out of the way. Madam Secretary, Karen McKinley, would you please give the certification proxies, please?
Yes. The undersigned hereby certify that I caused to be mailed on October 22nd, 2021, the notification of annual meeting of the Outer Banks Beach Club Association, Inc., to be held December 4th, 2001 at 1 o'clock at the Ramada Plaza, 1701 South Virginia Dare Trail, Kill Devil Hills, North Carolina. Said notice was sent to all owners of record. Donna Shaffrey. And then the number of interval present by proxy is 1,158. Number of intervals present in person, 26. Total number of intervals present, 1,184. In accordance with the bylaws of the Outer Banks Beach Club Association, at each annual meeting of the association, 20% of the members must be present in person or by proxy that shall constitute a quorum, and that number is 816. So we have it by more than 1,000.
Okay, Madam Secretary, would you give the proof of notice of meeting, please?
I did.
Oh, you
I
did give that
first.
already? I'm sorry. Okay, very good. The next item on the agenda is the review and approval of the minutes for the 2020 annual meeting. Since everyone has received a copy of that, I would like to have a motion to dispense with with reading of the minutes, please. A motion to that effect, please. Right here, sir, if you give name. Second, please. Sir, the gentleman here in the green shirt. You got that, Leonard? Okay. Okay, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, dispensing with the reading of the minutes, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Hearing none. We had, in terms of proxies submitted from the live stream people who could not attend the meeting today, we have 537 people that voted in favor of the minutes as presented and 1 opposing. So having said that, would you please, and we've had the motion to dispense with it, if you have not read the minutes, please do so now. Is there anyone who has not read the minutes? Raise your hand. Okay, hearing none, is there a motion that we accept the minutes as presented? Please. Sir, back in the blue shirt in the back, sir, your name? Got that? Okay, second, please. The lady in the left rear. Got that? Okay, very good. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor say aye. Aye. It passes. Okay, well, guys, we've got another year. I see a lot of familiar masks. I'd like to say faces, but this is 2 years running now. We've got that mask on, but I do see some familiar masks. And we would like to welcome our live stream YouTube members who are out there sitting back at home with a Coke and some potato chips, maybe watching and taking notes and participating in the business of their association, just as you are. We certainly appreciate you attending and taking part in the business. I'd like to take a second just to acknowledge and say thank you to our staff regarding the due diligence they had with dealing with this pandemic over the last 2+ years. They've done over and beyond what a lot of people would really call for, I think. They've been there for the association from day one. A lot of tough times with masks and dealing with all kinds of aspects of the pandemic, and hopefully we're on the downside of this thing, and next year we'll be back to normal, whatever that means. But I would like to take a second just to acknowledge and appreciate their effort. I'd like to take a second now just to introduce the head table. At the far end, Joe Fuentes, he's the director with the association. Karen McKinley, she's the secretary. Mr. Graham, Wendell Graham is the VP. Of course, I'm Ron Fowler, the president. Our president and CEO of our new management company, Resort MC Group, Lance McCall. The director of operations is Andrew Graziano. The manager of the resort is Lori Nichols. And the assistant manager is Sherry Asner. And our recording executive assistant is Donna Shaffery. Where's Donna? She's up. There you are, Donna. Okay, keep her straight, would you? Appreciate it. Okay, at this point in time, then I would like to introduce the resort of operations, the report for operations, Lori Nichols. She, since our last HOA meeting, she has been elected and has accepted the manager position of the resort. If you recall, last year, Mr. Stamey retired at the end of December 2020, and we elected a new manager who since left in about March and decided to go back home. And since that time, we had another interview process, and Lori Nichols, with her credentials she brings to the association, we're very happy and pleased and look forward to working with her. So having said that, Lori, if you'll give your presentation on the manager's report.
Good afternoon. I have just a quick update on the items for,
You need to really pull it closer.
I'm sorry. A quick update on the items for 2021 that were completed for unit refurbs, buildings 10, 15, 16, and 17. For those buildings, we were able to put new furniture, new living room furniture in those units. Other items that were completed, new carpet was installed, tile as needed, appliances as needed, ceiling fans were completed in those units, as well as new mattress sets were installed for the queen and twin rooms. Unit inventory such as kitchen stock, artwork, and those sort of items were also completed with that unit refurb. For 2022, the buildings that will undergo that process are 14, 18, 19, and 20. So we have quite a list of items that we would like to complete moving forward for 2022. Our focus since I joined the resort, I came the very end of June, and we have, in addition to just getting through the busy summer months, have really focused on proactive maintenance, preventative maintenance, curb appeal, some of the projects that we've been able to complete under the building cleanup. We have really focused on decks and pickets and things like that. So we've repaired and replaced as needed. Locker repairs are underway, replacing the wood in those lockers as needed. We've been removing the obsolete phone and internet equipment that has remained on property for quite some time. So basically, we are just trying to improve the overall appeal and appearance of the resort. It's a beautiful resort, and we're just trying to enhance that even more. Let's see. Maintenance and housekeeping, of course, our occupancy has remained really high this year, which has been fantastic. October was a very busy month still with some COVID replacement weeks, so we were busier with owners and guests in-house more than years past, I believe. And forgive me for reading all my scribbles. So in the, what we're focusing on now is just really looking forward to 2022, how we can improve the resorts, and I'm rambling, so forgive me. But that's really about it, just working on improvements around the resort.
Are there any questions regarding the manager's operations report? Sherry, are there any questions coming from our live stream?
There's no comments at this
No
time.
comment at this point. I would like to remind the people who are participating live stream, if you would, we have a comment section there on your computer. And at any time, please list your question or comments, and Sherry is monitoring this live time, so she will feed to us your questions and comments, and we will make those a part of this meeting. So hopefully you will fully participate in that regard. We certainly appreciate it. And with regards to people in person here today, when we ask for questions, please step up to the mic, if you would, please, and give your name, and then make your question so everybody can clearly hear you, as well as the people that are participating live stream. We appreciate that. No questions for Lori. Okay. We'll now go into the next item on the agenda of the financial reports, the 2021 operating and reserve report. Having said that, I was remiss when I introduced the head table that I did not mention Kenny Roberts. Kenny Roberts is the treasurer on the board of directors here. Kenny came down with some medical issues here early this week and was unable to attend today. He is at home observing and participating live stream, so we certainly miss Kenny today, but I did want to make sure we acknowledge Kenny. And in his absence, I will be making that report. So before you, the people at home live stream, as well as the ones in person here today, should have a handout of the 2020 budget summary. And we're going to take, and this is a blow up of that copy that you have. Is there anyone who doesn't have a copy of that who's here? Okay, the people at home in live stream, you got that copy back when we submitted the announcement of the meeting, and a copy of that was provided at that point in time. So please follow along with us. And if you have any questions as we get through, we will obviously do our best to answer them. So today, I will be looking at the 2021 budget and the 2021 forecast columns to give you an idea of what we budgeted back in the fall of 2020, what we thought we needed for 2021, and how it looks like it's going to shake out for 2021, okay? So let's go through that. First of all, as you can see, for the 2021 budget, we had $2,166,000 budgeted, and looks like our forecast is going to come in at about $2,083,000 for a deficit of $82,702 in terms of revenue. Okay, keep in mind for revenue. Now, what happened? What happened to that revenue? Where did it fall short? Well, roughly 52,000 of revenue for maintenance fees, okay, for maintenance fees current year, 2021, fell short because we had one vacation club entity who had 75 weeks with the association defaulted. And they turned those weeks and they did not make the maintenance fee payment in 2021 like the rest of us. So that equated roughly about 52 grand. We fell short there, okay? But the upside of that, there's not really an upside, but I'll try to get one, and there is one. Of those 75 weeks, 41 or 42 of those weeks are what we call red weeks. So we're going to be able to generate some very good rental revenue out of those weeks that will offset the shortfall of the maintenance fees, okay? So that's the plus side of the negative, if you will. And going forward, obviously, we will probably have some of those red weeks for sale, and that's being looked at as the board currently now. So that's part of that $82,000 deficit. The other part of it is about 30 grand. And 30 grand is attributable to owners like myself and you or whoever who pay maintenance fees normally every year who did not pay their 2021 maintenance fee. And that was roughly 42 units. Roughly 42 owners did not pay their maintenance fee. And there are various reasons. I mean, we all have financial stress with the pandemic. Somebody got laid off or deferred or whatever, and they didn't have income as they usually might have. And so they had to make decisions whether or not, hey, could I make my maintenance fee payment, or do I have to make a car payment or an extra school supplies or whatever it may be. But nonetheless, the reality of it is roughly 42 of our owners defaulted in the payment of their 2021 maintenance fees. Now, what happens is, as it happens in previous years, we have a second line item in there that says maintenance fees other prior years. And what happens is, if Joe Doe didn't make his 2021, okay, for various reasons, and we bill out, and we already have for 2022, then Joe will catch up. A lot of times those people will catch up. They'll make a double payment, or they'll call us and we'll make a payment arrangement, okay, that's provided for in our bylaws that Mr. Graziani will cover here in a few minutes. But they're the two ingredients of why maintenance current year fell short by $82,000 and some change, okay? Now, if you jump down to the next line, other revenue and income. Well, what is other revenue and income, Mr. Fowler? Well, that's 11 other additional revenue line items that we have, okay? And so since that's not the majority of the total $2,237,000 of forecast, we've lumped it into one line item and called it other revenue and income, all right? And that capacity, we gained $62,000 and some change over and above what we budgeted for 2021. Okay, where were those coming from? $13,700 increase for prior year maintenance fees, as I just spoke of. So we've already had $13,700 come in from 2020 maintenance fees that weren't paid, or maybe something previous to that. And for various reasons, that owner was able to make those back payments, okay? So that was over and above what we projected. I will say this, the board, in a very conservative fashion, when we prepared the 2021 budget, we were very, very conservative because we didn't know what was going to happen with the pandemic. So rather than be optimistic or fairly optimistic, we said, hey, let's really take the cautious road here. I'd rather than be in the red, I'd rather either even out at 0 or have a little bit in the black, or maybe just a little amount in the red, if that. So with that approach, you can see why in the other revenue, we took it very conservative. We didn't know what was going to happen. Well, lo and behold, we've gained $62,000 in other revenue, okay? So the net of it for the total revenue, okay, for 2021 forecast, we fell short by $19,800 overall. Okay, so between the current maintenance fee year and the other revenue that we get, we fell short by $19,800 roughly. So that covers the revenue portion, okay? That's how much revenue we had and we expect to have at the end of this year to cover those expenses. Now, please keep in mind that the budget was done in October of 2020, right? And so we do our best with records and data that we've collected over the years and forecasts and so forth to project what it's going to be. And that was our best projection back then, $2,257,067. We think we're going to come in right at $2,237,224, which is 19 grand short. Okay, but given the fact that that number is predicated on actual through October of this year, and so we're forecasting what's going to happen in November and December. Okay. So that's why we're calling it forecast, because we still got 2 months to go before we have 100% actuals. Then we'll fully know, okay? So any questions on the revenue side? Sherry, any comments? None at this time? Okay. You might want to give Sherry back that mic there, because I'm going to be hitting her here a lot on this. All right, let's move into the operating budget side of the house. And before I do, though, I will make note of a line item here. If it's insignificant, I'm not covering it. I'm only covering significant differences here, okay, on the forecast. So less cost of sales, that's very minor and very insignificant. We'll get down to capital reserve fund. Not a big deal difference in terms of what we budgeted versus what we actual, because it didn't change. That was just an allocation, so that didn't change. So the total operating revenue budgeted was $2,038,000. It's forecast to come in at $2,018,000. Okay, as I indicated, that's 19 grand roughly short. So now let's get into the operating expenses. And again, I'm going to cover the significant items, okay? And I'll just lump the others as miscellaneous other for you. Okay, so the first item is utilities. Utilities, all right, we budgeted $225 and some change. We're thinking we're coming in at $214 and some change. And that equates to about $10,200 shortfall to utilities, okay? What happened there, Ms. Fowler? Well, $16,900 was a decrease in electricity. We didn't expend as much electricity costs as we thought we might, okay? Was there any rate adjustments in that, Sherry, by chance?
What's that? I'm sorry.
Electricity, were there any adjustments on the?
We got a rebate check back in June that set off some of the costs of that, so it really
Okay,
helped us
right.
this year.
Okay, so there was an adjustment due to a reduction on a rate reduction on their part. Okay,
Yes.
good. The second piece of that expense on utilities is $6,400 for water, which increased. So our water usage went up. Our electricity went down because of a rate adjustment, okay? So our water usage did go up some. And finally, the balance of that is roughly $300 of other miscellaneous, because there's 6 items under that category, utilities. We have 6 different items that fall under that. Housekeeping, insignificant. I won't be going over housekeeping. We are 225, 214. That's the 9 items. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm looking at the wrong line item here. 98,441, 98,995. Very insignificant, we won't cover that. There are 9 line items, by the way, that make up housekeeping, okay? Some people say, well, why can't I get a copy of all this? Well, a lot of these summary line items you see have multiple line items that summarize up into these categories, okay? So maintenance is the next line item. We'll cover that since it's a significant difference. $99,000 we budgeted. We expect to come in at 100 and round numbers, $108,000. which is approximately $8,800 increase in maintenance cost to us. The difference in that, Rose, we had an elevator that went down and if any of you are in building 15, 16, or 17, I'm not sure if you were here in the springtime, but with another week that you may have, but we had an elevator down, was down almost 2 months. So it impacted, what, 8, 10 weeks of owners. And part of it was due to the pandemic. I mean, the supply chain was tough to come by. You couldn't get parts, et cetera, and so forth. But that wasn't the total problem. But nonetheless, we did have some serious problems with that elevator, which since were fixed. And just that repair was 17 grand. It cost us 17 grand. So you can see why part of that 8,800 was attributable to that elevator, okay? Elevator repairs, pool supplies. Pool supplies decreased roughly $2,400. So we saved a little bit. I considered that somewhat significant in this line item. We did have a savings of there. And that could be attributable to the fact that maybe we had purchased some supplies early on that carried over from 2020. So therefore, we didn't have to expend as much for 2021, okay? And lastly, the $200 is miscellaneous other items in that 8-item category. Maintenance has 8 individual line items that make up that total. Administrative in general, again, an insignificant number. I won't be going through that. 231 budgeted and 230 and some change expected to come in at. Salaries and wages. And by the way, administrative in general has 22 items and make up that line item, 22 items, okay? Salaries and wages. There are 6 items in salaries and wages. It came in at $28,600 roughly over and above what we budgeted, okay? So it was 189 budgeted, 151 what we're expecting it to come in. Am I on the wrong line item here? Oh, I am, excuse me. 701 and some change budgeted and 730, 400 increase, which was roughly $28,600 increase for salaries and wages. Of that difference, $4,600 was increased due to admin. $31,500 increased in housekeeping. Housekeeping, we had, as you can appreciate if you've gone out to restaurants or wherever over the last year and a half or so, housekeeping for us as well as hotels, restaurants, or whatever, keeping staff in place is just, it's mind-boggling. I mean, it's very difficult for us to keep in place a full-time housekeeping staff, okay? And we're getting through those wickets, but it's not where we want it yet, but we're getting there. We've got some things lined up for 2022 that Mr. McCall will probably expand on in his presentation that gives us a little more comfort zone, if you will, of the issues we've gone through and what we expect to make it look better coming 2022. And salaries and wages, 6,700 decrease in the maintenance. We have some vacancies in the maintenance that are attributed in part to that. If you don't have as many staff, obviously the salaries and the benefits we had set aside for those people are not realized, so that was some savings in that regard. And the balance of it, $800 decrease was for miscellaneous other. Payroll, taxes, benefits, and related items. That's made up of basically 3 different items. So we budgeted 189,614, and we are forecasting a 151,600 in round numbers. And that's a $38,000 decrease in payroll, taxes, benefits, and related as compared to budget, which is good, right? Anytime you can save on your expenses. Well, what was that attributable to? 10,300 was a decrease in payroll taxes. Obviously, if you get fewer people on the roll, you're going to pay fewer taxes, right? So it's related. 11,200 decrease for workers' comp, and in part because we have a new management company. And we were able to have some new rates generated for workers' comp that we didn't prior to that under the previous manager able to capitalize on. So we had some savings right up front that while Resort MC Group, our new management company, while they weren't a part of the 2021 budget preparation, okay, our prior management company was, then when they came on board, they saw that, well, hey, we can save in some of these areas, and that depicts that. And lastly, 15,600 decrease in employee insurance. And that's attributable in two places also. One, the rates, we got maybe a little bit better rate than what we've had in the past. We have a very good comprehensive medical package for our employees. But on the other side of it, why did it decrease? Well, we have fewer staff in place. We have roughly at this point about 28 full-time staff employees. And typically our requirement is 35 or 6, somewhere in that range, 35 or 6. So the 7 or 8 people we didn't have full-time through the whole year obviously attributes to some of these savings. Leases, contracts, and fixed items. There are 9 items that make that up, 9 items. $302,000 budgeted, $291,000 and some change we expect to be realized, which is a reduction in those expenses of $10,400 in round numbers. $10,400 we're going to save. Of that, $8,300 is attributable to general insurance. Insurance for all your buildings, all your liabilities and stuff of that nature. Okay, we just had our property reevaluated by an appraiser. We have to do that every so many years per the insurance company. Well, how many years is that, Lance? Roughly 5 years, 7?
Usually every 10.
Every 10? Okay, yeah. And so out of that reappraisal, we found out that our appraisals were attributable to some savings in that regard. So that was passed on to us through the premium, obviously, because some of the buildings were appraised differently, et cetera. I guess new estimating tools or just the environment currently with what things are worth, I guess. But nonetheless, it decreased $8,300. The second item that decreased was income taxes. Okay, income taxes obviously are based on the revenue you expect to get, right? Well, we know we talked about revenue, except for other revenue in some of these areas. We didn't generate the revenue we normally get. Recreation, those types of things, where you get revenue. Well, you pay taxes on those. If you don't generate the revenue, you don't pay the taxes, right? So there's the savings there in terms of income taxes, which was approximately $2,900. And of course, the balance of that to get you back to the 10 grand difference, there was miscellaneous $800 for the other 9 line items. And of course, the final line item, unit refurbishment, very little change there, as you can see, so I don't have anything further to add in that regard. So the net balance of all of it, when you take the revenue that we expected, 237, 224, and the 2237, yeah, and the 2016 number, we're expecting when it all shakes out, we're going to be in the black about 2 grand. Okay, which is good. So you reflect back to 2020 when we prepared the budget in October with blinders on, so to speak, what's going to happen with the pandemic. We didn't fare too bad, really. I know we took a hit on the maintenance fees up here, right? But part of it was we couldn't do anything about it. The vacation club in one and some of the owner situations with regards to what monies they had to make hard decisions on, right? So overall, I think we did pretty good in that regard. If you look back, and if we were back there in October and thought we were going to come out unknowing what the pandemic would do, and we're going to be roughly 2 grand in the black, that ain't too bad. So at this point, I'm open for any questions regarding revenue and expenses for 2021 budget versus forecast. Any questions at all? Sherry, any questions?
There are none on YouTube.
None on this? Yeah, yes, ma'am. Well, could you step up to the mic, please? All your people on television will be looking at this later through live. You can go back home on live stream. All of us can go home on live stream on YouTube and see this whole presentation again, okay, at any time.
The only thing that, Terry Mize,
And, okay, the only thing I had a question that I was concerned about is when you said about the elevator being down for 2 months. As owners, we had to pay a fee to get the elevators in. Wouldn't there be some kind of, I don't know what I want to say, a maintenance that the elevator company put in that we wouldn't occur?
Yeah, good question. What happens there is we contracted to put these 4 new elevators in, right? And they put them in, and you have a guarantee, it's 1 year guarantee on, okay? And so that's since expired. But we do have in our operations budget, okay, which Mr. McCall will be covering on the 2022 versus 2021, we have a line item in there on maintenance, okay? Right here under maintenance, there's an elevator line item in there. And we put in there, I think we put in like 10, 12 grand or so. And that's for monthly calls by the elevator company to come out and service it on a monthly basis, okay? And we throw in there some minor stuff for something that may come up. Well, in this case, the elevator was only, 3 years old. And unfortunately, it's outside the 1 year guarantee period. It's like a lot of other things you and I buy. You buy a refrigerator or something, and 1 year and 3 days, something goes wrong, and you're sitting there with a bill. Nothing you can do about it. We had to pay it, unfortunately. But fortunately, it was offset, as we talked about, other revenue, okay? Other revenue, we really made some inroads in that regard. And there's one item I didn't mention. Let me back up just 1 second. On the other revenue, those 3 items, I don't think I covered that. When we gained $62,000 for other revenue versus budgeted, part of that was $13,700 prior years, which I did talk about, but I didn't follow up and tell you that we also picked up $21,100 in delinquent rentals. Okay, what are delinquent rentals? Delinquent rentals, if Ron Fowler don't pay his maintenance fee for 2020 or 2021, then the association will go out and rent that unit, okay, and take that rental revenue and credit it back to Ron Fowler's account. So that's actually a maintenance fee, delinquent maintenance fee coming back. But we actually, while we were very conservative in our other revenue forecast, surprisingly, we had more rentals income, which was great. And the other piece of that, while we had $21,000 for delinquent rentals, we also had an increase of $36,200 for HOA rentals. So between the two, we had $57,000 in rental revenues that we didn't forecast we would have back when we did it in October, because we were very, very conservative, which is another plus. Sherry, any questions yet from live stream?
No.
Live stream, we want you to participate. Step up. No further questions? Okay, thank you very much. At this time, I'll turn it over to Mr. McCall, the President and CEO of Resort MC Group. And welcome aboard.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
By the way, this is in part really homecoming, almost. If you recall, back in 2002, we contracted with SPM, as a lot of us know. And they were with us for 17, 16 plus years before they were purchased out by Capital Resort Group. And Lance was a part of that. And since then, he has left them and started his own company. And a lot of his staff was with the SPM people we had back before Capital Resort. So it's really been part of homecoming, and we're looking forward to many years with you, Lance.
Thank you. Well, good afternoon, everyone. Like Mr. Fowler said, our whole team, we're excited to be back at Outer Banks Beach Club. What a great resort, great owners, great tenured team. Well, so we'll go through, Mr. Fowler did a great job of going through in detail the 2021 budget versus forecast. What I'm going to try to do is talk about the 2022 budget and compare it to both the 2021 budget and the 2021 forecast. If you look down at the bottom here, as Mr. Fowler talked about, we had an issue with the large owner, Vacation Club, giving the weeks back. So in an effort to kind of compensate for that, we've had to raise the maintenance fees 2.5%. And the way that, if you look over at the far right column, even by raising the maintenance fees 2.5%, it doesn't make up the shortfall of where we thought we were going to be when the 2021 budget was done. So we still have a deficit in our maintenance fee revenue compared to 2021's budget. How we're making that up, though, is we're getting very aggressive in rentals. Delinquent owner rental, HOA rental, and hopefully that'll lead to bringing in new people. With rentals, they'll see what a great resort we have, and that'll turn into more dues-paying owners, and we'll become less dependent on the rentals and more dependent, as usual, on the maintenance fees. But for right now, we're for 2022, we're going to be very aggressive with the rentals. So we're forecasting for next year's budget that compared to last year's budget, your revenue is going to be up about 3.5% or $78,000. Cost of sales is really negligible. Capital reserve, we increased that $10,000. The reason for that is there'll be a little more discussion here in a little bit about the plan. But looking at it and forecasting some things in the future, we need to go ahead and make a $10,000 increase so that when we get to the end in 10 or 15, 20 years, the money will be there to do the necessary projects. So we've gone ahead and taken that step. On the operating expense side, utilities, we've got in there just the normal increases. And unfortunately, I don't think we're going to get another rebate from the utility company. You don't get those very often. So I don't think we'll be quite so lucky in 2022. On the housekeeping side, we're forecasting that to be up about 7.4%. We do need to get some more deep cleans done, and we're going to end up paying a little higher rate. We talked about staffing being a challenge, so we're going to have to pay a little higher rate to get deep cleans done. That's the majority of that expense. On the maintenance side, compared to last year where we think we're going to end the year, it's more back in line with last year's budget. We don't anticipate having a large elevator issue. And then on administrative in general is forecasted to be up about 2.7%. Just standard items such as postage, legal fees, things of that nature. Salaries and wages is up 5% or $35,000 compared to last year's budget. We do anticipate being fully staffed. The market is changing a little bit. We're having a little bit more success hoping to find some employees, but where we're having the biggest challenge on the beach is everybody's fighting for the same housekeeping. So what we had to do this year is pay a piece rate that was a lot higher than budget. So in an effort to make sure that we're adequately staffed and can do the cleaning that we need to in 2022, what we've gone out and done is we found two companies to help us. They're contract cleaning companies, and they're going to help us with 50% of our turns from Memorial Day to Labor Day. That way, they do that for a living. They're staffing year round where we only need to ramp up for a short period of time. So the cost of that is a little bit more expensive, but I think it will pay dividends for us in the long run in the fact that we'll be able to save our staff and have them doing what they should be doing as opposed to cleaning rooms. It's not the most efficient way to run the resort when we have our front desk cleaning rooms and inspecting rooms and things of that nature. So really excited about that for next year. I think that's really going to help us. But that is a little bit more expensive. On the payroll taxes and benefits, we're forecasting that to be up when we did the budget significantly. One, as I said, we anticipate having a full staff. But two, we were advised our renewal for workers' comp and for employee insurance happens on January. So when we were doing the budget back in late August, early September, I was advised that we needed to put 10% in for those categories. I'm happy to report that we've renewed the employee insurance, and instead of 10%, we've actually renewed it at 3.9% and actually got better coverage for them. Their copays are going down and so forth. So we should hopefully have a savings there. And then workers' comp have not got those rates, but hopefully we haven't had, knock on wood if I can find something, we haven't had any claims so far, so we should be good there. And then on leases, contracts, and fixed, that's up compared to where we think we're going to end the year about 10%. We were fortunate this year, as Mr. Fowler said, with the reappraisal, we saw some premium savings. Also, we saw by the timing with it renewing in April and May, we didn't see the increases that some of the people that have had insurance renewals in the latter part of the year. What we're seeing is on the coastal market, some of the carriers that we can count on are actually pulling out of the Outer Banks market. So what that's going to mean is less competition. So we've budgeted for a 10% increase in general insurance. So hopefully that'll, that budget will be a good number. Unit refurbishment. I think Lori talked about the buildings that we're going to do. It's down slightly. The only real difference there is there's a few units with carpet that we normally would have to replace that it's held up very well and not needing to replace anything. So when it's all said and done, we're budgeting for just a slight deficit, which will be offset by how we finish this year. So any questions on anything in 2022?
Susan Munyon has a question, and she
Okay.
wants to know what is being done about the large delinquent owners and to recoup the maintenance losses. Does it go into foreclosure and resale?
Okay. Yeah, so
Closer? Okay. Did you hear me?
I heard you. Yeah, so the question was, what are we doing about the delinquencies? So your association has a very good collection policy. We're following that policy. The large unit owner, those weeks, we've been through the policy. We're getting a deed in lieu. Those are coming back to the association's name so that we can get them into new dues paying owners' hands. We have been very aggressive in the past, this board has, with foreclosures. We don't have a lot of foreclosures on the plan for this year, but in future budgets, we will obviously do the foreclosures. We have approximately 484 units in inventory right now that we need to get into new dues paying owners' hands. So as we get that going, I'm sure the board will consider doing more foreclosures. But right now, the goal is going to be to work with these owners, try to get them. As the new management company, we're trying to engage these owners. As Mr. Fowler talked about the prior year maintenance fees, we got about 13 more than we anticipated. That was a result of when we took over. Anytime we take over a new management contract, we just bill every owner. And as a result of that, we were able to engage a lot of owners who had fallen off the wagon, and we've been able to kind of get them re-engaged and get them back on the route to dues paying. So right now, the focus will be on renting those weeks and trying to get them current. Once those efforts are exhausted, as this board's always done in the past, we'll allocate the funds for legal fees and we'll get those weeks back. Anyone else have any questions?
Sherry, any more?
No more questions?
Okay. Thank you, Lance.
Thank you.
At this time, Joe Fentis will give us a CRF overview, Capital Reserve Fund. We've had questions. We had some last year at the HOA meeting. We've since had a couple of other owners that asked, so we thought we'd give a short overview of the Capital Reserve Fund that we have, which, as you see in your revenue line item up there, $225,000 is earmarked for Capital Reserve. Okay, we call it Capital Reserve Fund, CRF. So rightfully so, the question is, well, what are we doing with that, Mr. Fowler? What are we doing with that? How does that work? And at this time, well, we're going to have Joe. He's going to give you a quick overview of that. Joe?
Thank you, Ron. Real quickly, I'm just going to go over some bullets for everyone that, like he said, there's been some questions on what the purpose of the reserve fund is and how it was established. So right off the bat, the board established this capital reserve fund policy, the policy itself, in May of 2013. When I got on the board, I didn't realize it was that recent. I thought they had it sometime longer than that. The policy established a funding account for replacement and improvement of the capital reserve components and projects on the property. The policy established a 30-year replacement schedule with an annual built-in 2% escalation inflation factor. The fund's 30-year replacement schedule is reviewed and approved annually by the staff and by the board. The capital reserve fund account does not include any funding for the annual unit refurbishment projects that you hear about, which are included in the operating expense budget that they just discussed. The capital reserve fund includes funding for capital reserve projects shared with the Outer Banks Beach Club 2 Association. Just for information, there's 55 line items on that schedule. Of those 55 line items, 25 items are shared with Beach Club 2. For example, the clubhouse, the gazebo, the indoor pool, those shared areas. The association's operating budget currently allocates $225,000 to the capital reserve fund account annually. That's what Ron just alluded to. This allocation of $225,000 provides and establishes $6,750,000 of replacement funds over a 30-year schedule. As of October 31st, 2021, there's a current balance of $1,014,031 in that account. $153,993 has been allocated and approved for capital reserve projects for 2022. Some of the bigger ticket items that are on that schedule for 2022 are painting, heating, ventilation, air conditioning, the indoor and the outdoor units, the decks, believe it or not, the decks and the railings, I guess that shouldn't be a surprise to anybody. That's a high dollar item also. Expenditures of the funds allocated to the capital reserve fund account are strictly controlled by the board. As I stated earlier, the board reviews and approves that schedule. And the bottom line and the bumper sticker for everything I just alluded to here, the association's capital reserve fund plan will help better ensure special assessments going forward will not be necessary. That's probably the bottom line that would interest everyone. I do have copies of what I just went over. If you at the end of the meeting, if you want a copy, just come up and ask for it. That's all I have to report, Ron.
Any questions of Mr. Francis? Any questions at all? Sherry?
No.
Nothing? Come on, live stream. Let's get going here. Let's get some questions as well as in here, guys. I hope that mic there is not a deterrent. If so, we'll take that mic out of here. Or maybe on the positive side, maybe we explained it well enough that you don't have a question. We would hope that's the case. Not the case, huh? I tried. Okay, at this time, let's see, we've already checked with the live stream people. So the next item on the agenda is the election of directors. And each year, as if you've kept up with your bylaws, we have 5 board members, 5 incumbents. Of course, Kenny Roberts is not here, as I explained. And you have to put your name up every year, which is fine. Don't have a problem with it. It'd be nice if we could stagger it, okay? Well, our sister board, OBB2, they stagger their elections, okay, so that typically not that it would happen. You could have a wholesale change out and have no experience on the board in one election period with us. Hopefully that won't happen, but nonetheless, we have tried in years past to go out to owners, and our bylaws are so tough to get over that we can't do it. We need 75% in the affirmative vote to change one word in our bylaws and governing documents. 75%. Never going to happen. Never. In the affirmative vote, we'd be lucky to get 75% just to respond. We tried it 2 years, and the best we could do just to respond was 51%. I won't even get into how many negatives versus positives there was. It didn't matter. We couldn't get 75%. Right? So in any event, we're all up for re-election. Currently, right now, we sent out the pre-printed ballot to all owners in the association if you were interested. Okay, 4 of the directors there's a September 1 deadline for everybody, whether you're an incumbent or just an owner looking to put your name up. If you want your name on the pre-printed ballot that goes out with your notice letter and the agenda, then you must have your registration in by September 1st, okay? So in this instance, this year, 4 of the 5 directors have decided they want to be reconsidered for election to the 2022 board. One director missed the September 1 deadline. So the policy is whether you're incumbent or just a person who's interested, if you don't meet the September 1 deadline, you can't be on the pre-printed ballot. But the floor will be opened up for nominations at the meeting for those who missed the September 1 deadline. And if they're still interested, if they missed it and they're still interested, they have the opportunity to put their name up here today. Okay, so currently, right now, with what you received, we have 6 candidates for 5 positions, for 5 director positions right now. Okay? So having said all that right now, the floor is hereby opened for any additional nominations for the board of directors. Are there any?
As a postal system let me down again. My resume or request to be on the board did not get received in time. I've been an owner here since 1980. I've been on the board for 17 years.
Mr. Graham, let me interrupt just a second. Are you putting your name in nomination?
I am putting my name in
All right,
nomination.
you'll have 3 minutes to talk about things in your interest, okay? I'm just looking for nominations right now.
Oh, okay, okay.
You are putting your name in
Put my
nomination?
name in nomination.
Okay. So if you would, please, sitting out there, add Mr. Wendell Graham to your list of candidates for director nominee, okay? And I will do the same. Okay. Are there any additional nominations from the floor? Hearing none, is there a motion we close the nominations from the floor? Sir, right here. Timmy, Mr. Grove? Okay, second, please. Any second?
Second, Terry Miles.
Okay, second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of closing nominations from the floor, say aye. Aye. Okay, very good. We got that behind us. All right, at this point, we will have up to 3 minutes for each director candidate to make any presentation they see fit. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll just go down the ballot that you have, which is by alphabet, okay? So I see I'm first, so I'll just briefly say, some people say I've been on the board too long. I don't know, maybe so, who knows? But I've been with the board for going on 30 years. I've been president for almost 20 years, maybe 20 years. The board has so decided to elect me every year for the president. I thoroughly enjoy working with the association. It's my nick. I dealt in cost for 40 years with DPD Shipbuilding. I've been in managerial positions. I'm retired Army reservist, 22 plus years. I can't think of, I'm retired, okay? I've brought my family up through, my wife and I, Nancy, who's out here in the audience. We brought up 2 kids through the Outer Banks Beach Club life, wouldn't trade you for nothing. And I would appreciate your consideration for another year. Thank you. So next would be Joe. Joe?
Thank you, Ron. My background is as described in the notice that was previously sent. This would be my 3rd term. And as Ron has said, just like he has said, I've really enjoyed my time on the board and enjoyed working with the group, the other members of the board and the staff. We have a first-rate staff. And a little bit about my background. Right now, my position is I was with Northrop Grumman Newport News Shipbuilding, which is now referred to as Huntington Ingalls. Did some nuclear engineering research and development there, and now I'm with the government as a division head of a group there, overseeing about 30 engineers. Anyway, that's pretty much my background. It's kind of explained there. I'll pass it on to Ron. You want me to pass it on to Timmy? Right?
That's it?
Yes.
Okay. Next up is Timmy Grove. Timmy, step right up to the mic here if you would.
I'm Timmy Grove, go by Tim. Just want to say I've always been impressed with this resort, the way it's always been maintained and operated. And I just want to be part of the board. If it's not this year, maybe sometime in the future. And just ask for your consideration. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Kenny. Timmy. Next up is Kenny Roberts, who, as I indicated, he's participating from home. And unfortunately, through live stream, there's no way he can verse other than some comments through the network. But Kenny's been with us a couple of years now, does an excellent job. So I won't say anything further in that regard, but Kenny's not here to speak for himself. So the next candidate is Karen McKinley. Karen.
I've been on the board for 3 years. I'm a psychotherapist in Chesapeake, Virginia, in private practice. I enjoy being on the board. It's certainly a very active group. We do have the 3 meetings every year, but many Zoom calls and conference calls. So there's a big commitment to it. Compared to many of you, I'm a newbie here. I've only been an owner for 18 years. Bought here at Outer Banks Beach Club because we enjoyed the Outer Banks, but also to ensure that my extended family would always have a vacation at least once a year together. And we've been very lucky to be able to do that. As a side note, any of you that are running for the board or thinking about running for the board, if you don't make it the first time, don't be discouraged because it took me 2 tries.
Okay, thank you, Karen. Our next up candidate is Joanne Renault.
Good afternoon. As Ron said, my name is Joanne Regnault. I live here on the Outer Banks. I'm a year-round resident and have lived here for 14 years. And of course, as we know, love every second of it because of the kind of place that it is. My experience with Timeshare Resort started back in 1988. I was owner in timeshare since 1986. And in 1988, when the resort the board needed committees to have additional pairs of hands and to get some work done as new resorts tend to need, I volunteered for that. And I've just kept right on going. I was on various committees, and then when the need came up from the resort for a liaison between the owners and the board and the management, I was kind of that communication and that ear and that mouth in between. The kind of functions that I handled going after that for the resort were sales, marketing, collections, owner policy and development, resort policy and development. And that has, gone for 33 years. I have a bachelor's and master's degree in business, and I have owned at the resort for 10 years. I own in both resorts. I own at the resort for 10 years. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next up is Wendell Graham. Wendell. Hold it close, Wendell.
Yes, I've been a member of Outer Banks Beach Club and before they had sticks in the ground 40 years ago. I've been on the board for 17 years, and we've had some rough times, and we come through those. And just look around, and you'll see the results of our effort. I'm a retired contracts administrator from New Shipbuilding Drylock, specializing in review of contracts. So under pressure of my wife, I decided I'd try one more year. And I look forward to another year of service to the owners. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so now with the floor closed, we now have 7 candidates for 5 positions, 7 candidates for 5. Okay, so you have a ballot in front of you. Hopefully you have added Mr. Wendell Graham, Graham, to that list of candidates, okay? And on that ballot, you have a number that's marked, which tells you how many votes you have, but based on the number of weeks you own, okay? So all you need to do when you vote is check off no more than 5 of those blocks on your ballot. You don't have to put a number by each one of them. Just check off the 5 that you want your 5 votes to go toward. And the election committee will add those up, 5 for each of the candidates that you pick, if you had 5 weeks, okay? So that's the process. Yes, ma'am?
I have a question. If you did yours through the mail-in, like ahead of time, was Mr. Graham on there?
No, as I indicated,
That's
Mr.
what I didn't.
Yeah,
I
good
didn't-
question, very
I
good
did-
question.
I did not realize that, so can I go pull my vote out there? Because I'm here and I don't want to.
Well, if you didn't pull it when you first came
I
in,
didn't know that he was not on that.
yeah, I understand that, ma'am. Unfortunately, once you've signed in, and you either declare at that point that you want to pull back your proxy you mailed in and use the one in person here, at this point, it's too late in that regard.
That's not right, because they didn't say that out there. And I was not aware that Mr. Graham was not on that when I voted.
Yeah, I guess the other piece of it too would be, and I'm not,
That's okay.
yeah, there may be others aside from Wendell who may have put their name up that you wouldn't have been aware of as well, back when you first submitted it.
Right.
So I guess the best thing to do, just in my opinion, I mean, I've done it before myself, even before I was a board member. I sent my proxy in, and when I showed up, I said, hey, I pulled my proxy back from here, and I'm gonna do whatever comes up at the meeting. And so at this point, it's just too late.
I apologize, Mr. Graham.
And I appreciate it. My wife might not like it.
Well, I wasn't aware, but, blame the postal service? Are we gonna blame the postal service on this? 'Cause you-
This is not the first time they've let me down.
Okay, at this point, I'm going to appoint election inspectors. There'll be 3, one of which will be a representative of the management company. Mr. McCall will be on that committee. I need 2 other inspectors to volunteer. Okay, ma'am? Your name, please?
Terry Mine.
I need a second. A second, please, for inspector, to help count the vote. Yes, sir. Got the name? Okay, very good. Then the 2 of you with Mr. Lance McCall here will oversee the counting of these ballots once we finish, okay? Okay, is there any owner here today who does not have a ballot in front of them? Any? Good, everybody's got one. You may vote for up to 5. You could vote 4, 3, 2, 1, but you can't vote 6. We have 7 candidates for 5 positions. So in order for it to be a valid ballot, please do not check off more than 5 blocks. Please,
Yeah, but it's about
5 only, okay? Are there any further questions regarding how we're to vote? If not, please vote at this time, and the inspectors will come by and pick up your ballot when you're finished. Please proceed to vote.
They've got it.
Yeah, and I went to work for the government, 2 of us. And I'll finish this year, get married up.
Do you want me to read the rental question while they're?
Is there anyone who has not voted that is eligible to vote? Anybody who has not voted? You finished your ballot? You finished it, okay? Okay, at this point then, the polls are hereby closed, and the inspectors will please collect all ballots and do a count. Oh, shit. God damn. That's just me. Oh, boy. Phew.
Have any ballots?
Okay, while we're having the votes being counted, we'll proceed under unfinished business. Is there any unfinished business to come before the board today?
There's a question from Susan
I'm sorry,
Munyon.
what?
There's a question about rentals from Susan Munyon.
I'm sorry, could you get closer to that
Yeah.
microphone?
She wants to know what Pacific Places or Resort MC Group advertising the 480 unrented units on OBBC's behalf besides the discount rentals to current members or the Facebook spreadsheets. Do we use Tub or Red Week?
Okay, I will have Mr., can you answer that? Okay, Andrew, if you'll answer that, please.
Sure. To answer that specific question, we don't use Tug or Red Week, but we are active with the major online travel agencies like Booking.com. That's one of our primary sources of business other than direct phone calls to the property. Believe it or not, the bulk of your rental business comes through direct reservations, a lot of repeat business from prior years. But to kind of broaden that reach and get outside of our existing renter base, we do rely very heavily on Booking.com to generate reservations for us.
Any further questions? All right, thank you very much for that question, owner via live stream. We appreciate that. Okay, any other unfinished business that comes to mind from the people in person here or not? If not, I have a couple of 3 items that we want to cover as unfinished business. And at this point, I'll turn it over to our Secretary, Karen McKinley, and she wants to make some reminders and comments relative to correspondence. Karen.
Thank you. As a board, we work hard to represent all of you and to work to maintain this to be a quality resort as it has been. I'd like to ask all of you to help us in 3 ways. Sorry. One is to be sure that we have your email addresses. We have a little less than 2/3 of our owners that we have email addresses for, but we really would like to get the other third. I'm realizing we have some older owners who may not have emails, but it's our best way to communicate with you all. So if you haven't given us the email, if you please give it to the staff there at the desk or contact the front desk, would appreciate it. We only use it for resort business. We're not going to sell it or make it available in any kind of public way. The other thing is to fill out your comment cards when you stay here. You know, sometimes owners think, oh, I've been here all the time, I don't need to, but it's really helpful if you do that. The board reviews every single card and we try to take action on things that we can. So please fill out those cards each time you visit. The other thing is if you have questions about the resort, about what the board is doing, idea or suggestions of things you think we should do, would like to hear your questions and suggestions. And you can email those to obbc@resortsmcgroup.com. And the board will review those as well as our general manager, and we will respond back to you with answers to your questions. And if there are questions that are applicable to all the owners, we'll make sure to include them in the newsletter so you all get that information. But we really do want your input. The other thing is, I don't know how many of you have looked at the new website. It's a vast improvement from our previous one, and hopefully you all take advantage of it. But the one thing you may not be using is the owner portal, and it's in the upper right-hand section, and you just click on it. You just need your email address and your password to get on it. I think some people thought they needed their owner number. And if you're wondering where that is, on your statement that you got for your maintenance bill, it's up in the right-hand corner, your number is on there, but you don't need the number to get onto the portal. In addition to just information about the resorts and things going on, you can also find a lot of information under the owner portal. It includes our deeds and bylaws for those of you who want really exciting reading. All the minutes of the board meetings are on there, so we're certainly very transparent to you. The 3 regular meetings and then our Zoom and conference call meetings are on there. You can find copies of the newsletters if you happen to click yours off or not keep it and want to go back to something. And the rental agreement is also listed under the portal. So anybody have any questions about that? So please help us out and give us your questions, fill out the comment cards, and if we don't have your email address, please provide that. Thank you.
No further questions for Karen? None from live stream? No? Okay, next, under unfinished business, we have Andrew Graciano, who's going to give us some overview on maintenance fee payment, his information. Andrew?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Mr. Fowler. So just to kind of give some overall context, obviously on the financial handout you had in front of you, you saw what your maintenance fees were for this year. If you hadn't received your statement already, the one-bedroom units are $639. The three-bedroom, is $811. To put some context to that, if you go on to like the ARDA website, ARDA, the ARDA American Resort Developers Association, they're one of the larger trade organizations for the timeshare industry, very large lobbying operation, helping push legislation like North Carolina just passed to strengthen some of the laws regarding timeshare to the benefit of associations. But according to their records, the average maintenance fees nationwide for 2020 were about $1,000 per week. To break that down a little further, a studio unit, the average studio in the U.S. was about $620 per week. The average three-bedroom was $1,310. So as you can see, your board are very diligent taskmasters of us as operators in trying to keep your expenses in line to keep those fees down for you. As you heard Lance talk about earlier, we're also very active in trying to find ways to create revenue to help reduce that burden that the rest of the association has to carry. I also get the pleasure of talking about how to pay the bill, right? So we highly recommend visiting our website, pay.resortmcgroup.com. And that's a payment portal, specifically payments, doesn't have all the other information that Ms. McKinley referenced, but it specifically allows you to make a direct payment to our association's bank. And by doing that, it actually takes out a few different middlemen that passes along some savings to you. So if you go to that website, if you happen to have your routing and account number from your bank, there's no fee to make a payment that way. If you have a debit card, it's a flat $5 fee, regardless of how many intervals you may own. And if a credit card is 3%, so it's certainly a little cheaper than calling the front desk. So we very, very much encourage all of you to do that. If you need help with that in any way, please email us at ownerservices@resortmcgroup.com. I have a team beside me in Myrtle Beach supporting the operation here, and we can help you get on that owner portal. We can help you make payments, whatever you need. If you happen to own multiple weeks, you actually just have to make one payment. Our software will split it out across your weeks and handle all that for you. So very highly encourage and would love to have you all visit that site here in the coming weeks. As you know, your maintenance fee is due on January 1st. There is a grace period to the 31st to allow for the lovely mail system that's kind of hindering all of us right now. But the one thing we have been fielding a good number of calls from your fellow owners. One thing to note, as part of our management change, when we inherited all of your association's past data and all the past owner records, one thing that we did have to make a change to this year was all of your owner ID numbers. So if you got your statement and you see a different owner ID number, that is correct. That's just because we have two different databases. When you merge them, we try to change that up so there's no risk of duplication. So if there's any, we have received a number of phone calls about that. So I just want to be as transparent to you all here and those joining us online that those new numbers are accurate. Other than that, I think on that portal, the other thing we encourage all of our owners to do at all resorts, you have the ability to set up scheduled installment payments through that portal. It'll deduct it from your bank account or charge against a credit card, whichever you'd prefer. We strongly encourage you doing that to start planning for 2023. At this point, you even something around $50 a month for a one bedroom or $65, I believe it is, for a two bedroom owner or three bedroom, puts you in great position so that you don't get hit with that bill at year end. And I think that's kind of the high level. Again, if you need help, we are here. Our team keeps standard office hours. We do encourage email. I do have a little bit larger group of individuals who monitor our email account. So please use that ownerservices@resortmcgroup.com email address, and I guarantee you a pretty quick response.
Thank you. Thank you, Andrew. Any questions of Andrew? Yes, please step up.
Joanne Regnault, the questions for Andrew, I guess all, but Andrew just explained. Can you expound a little bit on the $18 or $20 convenience fee if an owner calls the office? Is there a fee from the bank that is manual that we have to offset, or a fee from
Yep,
Resort MC Group, or?
So you're.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am, you're exactly right about that. Your credit card processing companies charge fees. It's not a fee charged by us personally. It's not a fee charged by your association, and your association actually doesn't budget for that because you have so many different options of how to pay your maintenance fee, right? You can mail a check at any time, you can come to the front desk, or we have that portal available to all of you. So you can avoid that fee in a number of different ways. And we would certainly encourage everybody to do that because we don't want to take any more money than we have to. But yes, to your point, there's several processing agents involved in the processing of a credit card, from the encryption piece to the actual processing to the depository piece. And there are fees that are generated as a result, and that's passed along.
Any further questions? I have one myself, if I may.
Sure.
With regards to an individual making a payment for 2023, let's say, we have our owner portal. Once you log in, as Karen went through, then you have access, and there's different menus in that portal. And one of them is your account, and it gives you a balance of your account, and if you paid something, you haven't paid something. So the board would highly recommend that you make multiple payments for this year coming up during the year in preparation for 2023. And you can go in there, and correct me if I'm wrong, you could, January, you say, okay, I got a couple hundred. You write, stroke a check or a credit card, 200, boom, to the account, right? So you could go at any time and look at that account, and you'll see where you have $200 credit. Is that correct? Okay. So as the year goes on, maybe March, April, you can't do anything. And so June, July, you want to put another 200 or 300 or 100 or $50, okay? And all of that adds up toward 2023. Now, the question is, well, how do I know how much my 2023 is going to be? Well, obviously, what we would recommend would be you pay up to an amount that you're currently paying for 2022. Typically, there's always going to be an increase, unfortunately, in your future year maintenance fees simply because of escalation, medical benefits, et cetera, real estate taxes, all those things that add up that help go in to make up this 2.5% we went up this time. But we highly recommend that you look at just periodically you don't have to have a regimented $100 a month, but if that makes it easier for you, fine, go for it. But it's your latitude to do whatever you want with regards to how you pay. And then when the year end of 2022 comes, you may already have $800 in there for a 3-bedroom unit. So when the 2023 billing come out, you'll see 800. And when you get the billing, that billing is going to net out the credit that you've already paid up to that point. So we would just highly recommend you maybe consider that, okay? Okay, other unfinished business. I will defer to the election committee what the results were.
Okay. Thank you to the volunteers. We went out, counted the vote, and election of directors for another year. Ron Fowler, Joe Fuentes, Karen McKinley, Kenny Roberts, and Wendell Gray.
Okay, thank you. On behalf of the members elected, we certainly appreciate your vote of confidence for another year, and we'll strive to do what's in the best interest of the association as a whole. And I will say this is just from my viewpoint, we look at things relatively conservative. So, and as an indicator from the 2021 budget that we did back in October of 2020, right? So while we're not locked in on it, we know that, hey, you guys sitting out there have all kinds of expenses coming in. The association is not just sitting there for you to get rid of some money you don't have use for. That's for sure. But nonetheless, we certainly appreciate your vote of confidence, and we look forward to working on your behalf in 2022. There are a couple of other items I will bring up under unfinished business. The owner rental special. We have an owner rental special that's ongoing. Okay, we've sent out, it's on the website, our Facebook website. We sent out email blast flyer, which if your email is not currently logged in, go to your owner portal, log in your email address, and then you'll automatically be getting all these things, okay? But we do have a rental special in place. If you haven't looked at it, to take advantage of it, weeks 1 through 15, I believe, or 14.
14.
Yeah. So take a look at that for 2022. as well as our owner portal, as Andrew indicated, with the new management company taking over, there's been some restructuring and still some things that are ongoing with regards to what documents are in there and how we want to present them, et cetera. So bear with us in that regard. We're getting to the end of that process, but we're not there yet. So we appreciate your patience in that regard. Next item on the agenda, no other old business. New business. Is there any new business to be brought before the association?
No.
Oh, come on.
Hey, David Claude here. I just got a question that's bugging me.
Sir, the reason I ask you,
Most of us come here for the beach. And the last time I was here, the beach was like a 3-foot drop. And I'd like some kind of update on when if we're gonna get a beach back.
okay, so
The whole restoration project's supposed to come, and I'm just curious about, are we funding part of that or
okay.
how that goes?
Good question, sir. The only reason we were asking you to come up for the people that are live streaming, they can't participate in hearing your comments in that regard, if they're talking directly. That's why we asked you to come up here.
Okay, then I
Okay.
understand.
Yeah. So anyway, I want to answer the gentleman's question here first, with regards to the beach. Hey, you're exactly right. I mean, we came down in March of this past year, and of course, the spring played havoc with nor'easters on the beach. There's no question. We all know that. And it was a drop off. I mean, it was like, get a parachute, you get down to the beach after you get to the bottom of the steps, right? And we went to the town. Town listened very politely. They didn't do anything. Is Ed Stamey here? No, he's not here. A former manager before Laurie came on board. Anyway, he had discussions with the town. And so we, on our own, our maintenance staff, got shovels. That mat that we have, it goes out, as best we could, we would push sand out and try to take that grade, make it less steep, if you will, going down, and we'd made some inroads in that regard. Was it to everybody's satisfaction? No way. It wasn't. A lot of us have mobility problems and issues and can't get down, and we sympathize and understand that, but it was out of our control. And we did everything that we could do to make it better for our owners. Our ownership stops at the bottom of those steps. That's where it stops. That's at the primary dune. From the primary dune forward to the ocean, we have nothing to do with.
But they do have a project coming, right? There's a restoration project coming this summer or something, I thought I heard.
The towns, I think, is that true, Laura? Have you heard anything on that?
I live locally, I can speak to that.
Okay, please.
The project is called Beach Nourishment officially. And one thing backing up to where there's that cliff sometimes, that's caused by Mother Nature. As many people say, and this is a gorgeous place, God may have created it, but Mother Nature rules it. And one reason the towns don't go and address something is because they would have to address everybody. And that's very expensive. And Mother Nature generally takes care of it. The winter storms take the sand out, the nor'easters. The summer storms bring the sand back. And it's not just you have to wait a whole 6 months for something to happen. It's a constant and it's a gradual process. When the weather has been what it's been these past few years, more sand is going out and the beaches are getting narrower and narrower up and down the Outer Banks. So there's three parties that have to put money in for that to happen. It's not just, well, the town decides, we need to nourish the beach and here's the money out of the budget and we've been escrowing it or, whatever they've been doing. You have to have, the money comes from the federal government, and we all know how fast that can be when you ask for something to happen. A portion of the money comes from the taxes that are charged the guests, the visitors, and the rental taxes, the heads in beds and restaurant taxes. That money goes to lots of things in the infrastructure on the Outer Banks, and part of it is toward sand replacement. And then the third thing is when they don't come up to be enough, the local town comes up with a portion of the money, which is usually the smallest amount of money. And that was just all approved this past week. And so I don't know exactly when that's going to be. I don't know if they've put it out for bid yet or not. But it's a process. So the towns never address it on a one-by-one basis. They may say to you, like further down on Hatteras, it's okay to put sandbags out because basically you can't have that. Put the sandbags out as a temporary measure to hold it off till we can get all this going on, but they're not going to come out with the shovels and the like. And, you know, Mother Nature doesn't quite always address it as quickly as would like to. But it's fully approved and now it's on the agenda to be done.
Okay, thank you, Joanne.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Good question, sir. What was the, there was another, oh, you had a question. Yes, ma'am. Yeah, please.
We own another timeshare in the Florida area, and we just came back. In fact, we cut our vacation short so that we could be to this meeting. What is the chances of us ever having safes in each room? You know, in the wall, like in the closet or whatever, having a combination to it. That was something that I really like when we travel. The other thing that I have noticed that I know we have activities, but I noticed like, do we have a possibility of having any exercise equipment ever here, like a treadmill or a rope thing? I'm just, these are just things I'm trying to bring up to our Outer Banks because I love it here. But these are the other amenities that I see that our other timeshare has that we don't have here. I noticed that what I thought was very impressive, we've had our activities here this summer where we went this past week in Florida. They had nothing. They did not have an owners meeting. They did not have any activities at all for people or kids, you know, even though you could do social distancing. So I was impressed when we came here in August that we had that stuff available, which I was great. But the safes is something that I would really be interested in to see if, you know, we could do it on a little by little put in. Other than that, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments about the recreation. We appreciate that.
Yes.
Laura, if you make note of the safe, we can consider that in future meetings, okay? The one other item I will mention that Laurie touched on when she was going through her report, I don't recall, but she may have said it, so I'm redundant, but nonetheless, you know, your unit refurbishment account that we have on the board there, every year we designate one building for, two buildings. No, I'll get it right in a minute. How about 4 buildings? Bear with me, guys. Anyway, we have 4 buildings, okay, that we designate for refurbishment. And it's on a 5-year cycle, okay? So every 5 years, you're going to come back around and you're going to get some refurb, new furniture, that type of thing, right? Now, you may not get new carpet like this year coming up for 2022. A thorough review by Laurie and her staff has revealed that, hey, the carpet in unit XYZ looks very good. So why replace it? So we want it. But typically, you're going to get a unit refurb every 5 years in your unit. So if right now you're indicating board and sofa, man, we need another sofa. Feel free to ask staff where you are in that cycle. Or if there's been damage to it, obviously we'll step in and replace it, no question. But feel free to ask staff where you are in that cycle, okay? Because they may say, hey, it's 2 years or it's in 2022 or maybe 2023 that your next normal routine cycle comes up for you, okay? All right, nothing new under unfinished business. We go to new business. Is there any new business to be brought before the board? Sure, any comments at this point?
There are no comments.
None? New business, anything? Okay, I will remind us all, in 2023, not next coming 2022, want to give you a heads up. As Joe indicated on the CRF, Capital Reserve Fund, right, we have that 30-year plan that we designate out there for 30 years, and that's worth $6,750,000 of refurbishment, okay? At $225,000 a year adds up to $6,750,000 over 30 years, okay, as Joe indicated. So we have designated that our pool is 40 years old. And accolades to maintenance for Band-Aids, you name it, glue, whatever it took, keeping the bottom of that pool somewhat okay to continue with. Okay, our maintenance fee our maintenance cost for pool is kind of creeping up, and it's really a result of that pool's 40 years old. And we have some plumbing issues underneath it. We had a leak this past summer that was costing us water. That's what, in part why your water bill went up, I talked to. In part because we had a leak that we couldn't find under the pool. Those pipes that go under that concrete slab out there, in some instances, it's very costly to get in there and to find out what it is. So 2023, we have it on the books. We will be refurbishing the pool for OBB1. That's the downside. Now, it's going to impact whoever is involved in and around those weeks that takes place. And hopefully as part, and it will be under Lori's direction with her staff, they will be planning during 2022 or how they're going to go about doing that in 2023 and give you a heads up for those that are impacted, especially during that period, okay? Fortunately, we have our sister association's pool that we will be able to use, and we do that vice versa. They had their pool done a number of years ago, and they used our pool. So we have that agreement that we can use each other's pools in that regard. But it's going to be noise involved. How long it's going to take, I can't tell you. That's going to be part of Lori and her staff's responsibility. Go out and get bids for the board to review and look at what the cost is going to be, what the schedule is going to be, what the work time of day is going to be. All those things have got to be gurgitated and resolved during 2022, get a contract in place to proceed in 2023. So I'm just giving everybody a heads up in that regard. If you are impacted, then that's obviously the reason. 2023, we're looking to do it. Just like in this, I will expand because I can't take enough advantage of having an HOA meeting because one other opportunity you get to discuss issues about the association. It's your meeting, right? And so with that capital reserve fund that Joe talked about, I mean, just to give you an indicator, while the roofs and the painting and the HVACs inside and out, and the ceiling fans that you're getting, okay? I mean, I haven't gotten one yet, but I'm looking forward to it. Some of y'all may have already gotten it, okay? That's on the CRF and being done, and that'll be finished in a couple of years. But in that CRF, just to show you how we're trying to get detailed over 30 years, we haven't yet replaced decks and stairwells. That's part of the $6,750,000. We have estimated what we think it'll cost. Will it be a full up change out like we did last time, which we all knew we had to do a special assessment, right? To make up the difference because we didn't have enough in the CRF fund to take fully care of that. But as Joe indicated, we're trying to get ahead of this curve to make sure that all these things that creep up, we don't have to come back. And me as an owner say, hey, Ron, I'm sorry, I need $200 from you for every week, because we got to do X, Y, Z. That's what the CRF is all about. And so just to give you an idea, that decks and stairwells is a big ticket item. We spent $1,530,000 approximately to replace all the decks and stairwells, replace all the boardwalks, all the way out, the observation platform, you can sit there. That was $1,530,000 roughly, okay? So hopefully next time it won't be that much because we've replaced a lot of main girders and stuff that held up the decks, okay? That we're looking, hopefully we won't have to do next time. But that was just to give you some insight of what that plan's all about, okay, and what she has involving the refurbishments on a 5-year cycle. Any other new business? Comment, yes.
As an owner, I noticed during the summer months.
Yeah, if you would, people at home would definitely appreciate it. And they may want you as an agent going forward here, so.
As an owner and on the beach and on the decks, I noticed during the summer months, a lot of the owners and maybe visitors are leaving their doors open. And my concern is, once again, the air conditioning system. I know, once again, I keep referring back to the other timeshare we own, that they have a device to where if the door's open and it reaches a certain temperature, the air conditioner shuts down. I know we don't have that, but could we just make sure, and all of us, if we see somebody, that whether it be an owner or somebody else that has their doors open in the summer months so that, I don't know, maybe they want the breeze coming in or whatever, their air conditioning needs to be turned off. I don't have a problem with you open your door. We have one of those screened, portable screen things in so the bugs don't come in, that if you want the air from the ocean to come in or the night air, turn the air conditioning off or even the heat if you're one of those people. but I know that affects our utilities a
Right.
lot.
Good point, and we are aware, staff is aware of that. We have maintenance as part of their normal maintenance duties. When they're walking up and down the boardwalk and so forth, they'll be looking over in the summertime, like you indicated especially, or maybe even in the wintertime, if it's freezing cold and the door's open, you got the heat running, right? I mean, it's vice versa, you know? And so they will report back through maintenance, and staff will call the owner. We prefer that you not approach the owner, obviously, hey, would you mind keeping your door closed? That wouldn't go down too well.
No.
But, yeah, and some of them will tell you, well, I've got the air conditioner off. So the next thing the maintenance guy does, what does he do? He goes to the meter. The meter's going, they don't have the unit cut off. So then they go back to the owner. There are rare cases, but it happens, okay? Unfortunately, in some instances, it's not owners, it's renters.
Right, well, that's what I'm saying.
And most of the renters are gonna do what's best for everybody, right? But there always is some who say, well, I'm paying $1,000, $1,500 or whatever, $2,000 a week, so I wanna do what I wanna do, right? But anyway, good question.
My name is Earl Mize, and I'm gonna make a comment about what you just said. One of the things that I noticed, and we just started really coming here in the summertime, this last 2 years, the doors, you see light through. You know, little maintenance, little stuff around there, because I've even told them when we check out, you can see gaps in the doors. You don't do that at home, don't do it here.
Right.
You know, because all your heat, all your air conditioning goes out. You know, you seal up stuff at the house, seal it up here too. So,
Thank you. And, you know, you keep, these topics bring up something new. You may not be aware of it. Your thermostats here in the wintertime, if you go to bed at night, and we like our unit cold at night, okay? We like a nice cold room. So we cut it back to 65. When we get up in the morning, some people don't realize that you can only increase it in 2-degree increments. If you do that, your emergency heat kicks in, these heat pumps. The emergency heat kicks in on you, and it's far more costly than using it's far more costly than not using emergency heat. So if you do turn it back severely, when you go to cut it back, do it in 2-degree increments and let it catch up and then go back and increase it again. Because otherwise, that electric heater strip is just spinning that meter just like that. So keep that in mind. I appreciate it. Okay, any further? Again, no comments? Okay. Okay, at this point, next on the agenda is the door prize drawings, which we're all here for in the first place for, right? In the event, we have VP Mr. Graham and staff will assist him in having a drawing for door prizes. Mr. Graham and staff, you're up. I will give you a heads up as they're getting ready for this.
Oh, I do have everybody in here.
As we're getting ready for this, I'll give you a heads up. We have 1, 2, 3 Beach Club T-shirts. We have 2 wind chimes, okay? They'll be drawn first, all those 5. And then all the names go back in the bucket, all of them. If you got a T-shirt or a wind chime, your name will go back in the bucket for drawings on 2 1-bedroom unit weeks or 2 3-bedroom unit weeks.
And they added
Was there anything further?
Mr. Fowler.
Huh? Yeah, and we've added to that, management has added to that a week at Myrtle Beach.
Just one at a time.
Will also be there. So anyway, your name goes back in the hopper for the unit drawings.
Are you gonna call the last 3 digits?
Yep.
All right, so Mr. Graham's
Okay,
gonna call the last 3.
You need to use this mic.
Oh,
Yeah.
can you use your mic?
Pull it up close, Wendell.
Oh, I would like to tell you a story about the first owners meeting I attended back in 1980 at the old Holiday Inn. And the first complaint that came out was a lady said, "Why am I, a person without an elevator, having to pay the same maintenance fee as the people that have elevators?" And at that point in time, they started making the people with elevators pay $3 more in maintenance fee. That did not last long. So that are things boards get faced with. Get me eyes here.
All right, so,
Speak into the-
The last three digits. This is 4. Let me get my, where is my record? Here they are.
where's your?
Yeah, I'll tell him. You just give him a number. I can do it for you.
Okay, yeah, okay. The first ticket is, the last three digits is 413, and that is
413, and that's for a Beach Club t-shirt. Right, this gentleman right here.
So what you're gonna do is you're gonna see April after for the meeting for the sizes. So she's gonna give you a certificate.
Okay.
She's behind
This,
you.
right there, sir.
So we're gonna put it back in here, Mr. Graham.
Put this one back.
Yes.
All right, for another Beach Club t-shirt.
Those are yours.
The last three digits are 430.
430. Lady right here. Okay, for the third Beach Club t-shirt.
The number is 423.
423. Gentleman back right. Okay, next item is a wind chime.
And the number is 415.
415, the lady right here.
Thank you.
And finally, for the last wind chime. Wind chime.
The number is 425.
425. Looks like we have a family affair going on back there, huh? Both of y'all are winning. Okay, now at this point, all those selected numbers go back in the hopper. She mixes it up, and then we'll go for the weeks. And the first week will be a one-bedroom OBBC unit through October the 12th through April the 29th. So October the 12th through April 29th.
And the number is 423.
423.
I thought I just repeated that.
Oh.
I thought-
Boy,
You mix them up good.
yeah, you need to really mix them up.
So we take that out.
Yeah, you take that out. Really scramble them up. For another one-bedroom unit. Is that into 2023? Okay.
The number is 419.
Lady back here, 419, a one-bedroom,
So we
congratulations.
take it out. Put it right here. You have it on Mr. Graham.
Okay, the next drawing is for a three-bedroom OBBC from October the 12th to April 29, and that is October 12 of 2022 through April 29th of 2023.
The last three numbers are 410. Yeah, they can rent these.
I take it you're happy about that. What?
I said they can rent these if they want.
Do whatever they want.
Okay. My question to him was, can you rent them or use them? And the answer is both.
It's your unit for the week, so whether you use it or have a friend use it or you rent it, that's your call. Okay? The last three-bedroom,
The number is 418.
gentleman to the far left.
Oh.
Okay.
It-
One final drawing is the week in Myrtle Beach.
Two bedroom.
Is there a time of year on
It's a
that?
two-bedroom.
Just
Bedroom,
Same
same
time
time
frame.
frame.
same time frame? Two-bedroom, Myrtle Beach.
You ready for this, Mr. Graham?
Ready to go.
Huh?
I'm ready.
All right, here we go.
And the number is 429.
429.
Woo, go.
Mr. Grove, congratulations. Okay, that concludes our drawings. Unfortunately, we weren't able to have live stream participants for obvious reasons. So that's a more of an incentive if you can, and I recognize some people couldn't make the travel to get here for pandemic reasons or whatever, but nonetheless. Due to the pandemic, as last year, we will not be having a catered luncheon after this meeting, as much as we wanted to have it. We just couldn't work those logistics out in that regard. Having said that, obviously, when we depart here, some of you are here for the week maybe, and that's great, but make sure you have a safe return trip home, whether it be today or a week from today in that regard. And having said that, is there a motion that we adjourn? A motion to adjourn? Yes, sir, right here. All right, second, please. Okay, over here. Mr. Grove, got that? Any discussion here? None, all in favor say aye. Aye. Meeting is hereby adjourned. Thank you very much. Have a safe time this week or a safe trip home.